Okay, Bismillah walhamdulillah wa sallallahu ala rasulillah. So this is session 3, brothers. Like we said, we're doing a little special session tonight. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. So what we mentioned is you have these 4 characters who are the reporters of the hadith attributed to Jesus. But of course, as we said, these people, we're going to get a little bit more about them. They're not authentic. When we say they're hadith, we're not saying they're authentic, but we're saying that they are what reports of what Jesus allegedly said and did, attributed to what? To these 4 people. And we said about this person, Mark, they said that he's probably unknown. Now look at what Matthew did. Again, they hit these people, what did Eli Poole say, Little Peanut? He called it what? Tricknology. He hit him with that trick. They hit him with this is way back. Before the time that they put the blacks on the plantations, they were already running this game on the Europeans back 16, 17, 18, 1900 years ago. So it's not something new. It's not just the black folks got it. They were hitting them way back. They were hitting them. The sad thing is that Afro-Americans still on this stuff, meaning the majority of them. Now look at how they did this stuff. So this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, and this is talking now about the book of Matthew. Now Mark is the first of these books of these what? 4 hadiths. Yeah, there are 4 books of hadith. So Mark is the first. Now look what Matthew does. It says the book of Matthew, well this is what I put in here. The book of Matthew uses almost half of the book of Mark. So Matthew took a lot of what he got. He got a lot of his book came from what? Mark. But look at what he did. He says, although there is a Matthew, this is from Encyclopedia Britannica. It says, although there is a Matthew named among the various lists of Jesus' disciples, more telling is the fact that the name Levi, the tax collector, who in Mark, meaning in the book of Mark, becomes a follower of Jesus. So in the book of Mark, there is a character named Levi who becomes a follower of Jesus. You with me? Okay, so in the book of Mark, there's a guy named Levi who becomes a follower of Jesus. This is in their book. We're not saying it's authentic. And however, in the book of Matthew, the guy who was named what? Levi. In the book of Mark, there's a guy named what? Levi. In the book of Matthew, the guy Levi, his name is changed to what? Matthew. Why is it changed to Matthew? So it can make it look like he is that one who what? Became a follower of Jesus. So this guy is trying to claim he's a companion of Jesus by claiming that he's what? Levi. You follow? Dirty dudes. And it says here, it would appear from this, meaning this flip of the names, that Matthew was claiming to be an apostle for, and they call it apostolic authority for his gospel through this device. So he's claiming that, yeah, I'm really, that this guy, Matthew, who was really what? Levi, according to their claims, so that he can say, I was one of those early converts to follow Jesus. Now the encyclopedia goes on to say that the writer of Matthew is probably anonymous. Again, unknown. Either you know him or you don't. There's no such thing as probably anonymous. So they're saying that whoever wrote this is probably what? Unknown. Anonymous. Now, the book of Luke. It says here, in Encyclopedia Americana, again, Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. In short, the author of this gospel is what?
Luke.
Unknown. And look, this is in the book itself. In the book of Luke at the beginning, chapter 1, verse 3. It says, for as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things, are most surely believed among us, even as they delivered unto us. So he's not the actual companion, somebody else is what? Delivered this information to him. And it says, who were from beginning the eyewitnesses. So the ones who gave him the information were what? Eyewitnesses. But Luke was not a what?
Eyewitness.
Was not an eyewitness. Even according to their what? Claims. Even according to their claims.
Own claim.
That's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. It's from their own claims.
In
Luke, chapter 1, verse 3. Yeah, in the Bible itself. It's saying, Luke is not saying, I'm a companion of Jesus. The one who delivered it to me was an eyewitness. Huh?
But they claim that Luke
is a companion of Jesus.
Yeah.
But in reality,
Yeah, in reality.
In reality, even the church scholars, the Christian scholars, they made up the names for these books. This was later that they gave these books those names, attributed to those people. This is not from the beginning. Besides the fact, that Jesus taught his companions in what? Syriac, and then the oldest books are in what? Greek. If you ask them who translated the teachings of Jesus from Syriac to Greek, or even these guys who were teaching allegedly in what? Syriac, who translated their teachings into Greek, they will tell you, we don't know. Even if these people were authentic, which they are not, even if they were authentic, and they would have they would have learned from Jesus in what language? Syriac. So how the oldest that they have are in what? Greek. How did they get from Greek to Syriac to Greek? They don't know. The scholars don't know. We're not talking about Reverend Hamhock at the corner church. We're talking about their scholars don't know. Their scholars don't know who translated this stuff. And the book of John, it says here, this is again from Americana, it's like Britannica. From internal evidence, the gospel, as they say, of this gospel was written by a beloved disciple whose name is
John.
Unknown. All four of them, unknown. And in the book of John, chapter 21, verse 24, it says, this is the disciple which testifieth of these things and wrote these things, and we know his testimony is true. You follow? The book of John is saying, we didn't receive this. We received it from someone else, and we believe his testimony is true.
But they claiming it is the
But they try to pass it off as it's the book of John. Because somebody, common sense would say, well, where did this New Testament come from? They have to say, well, somebody had to have been the companions.
Okay, they came
So then they say, oh, well, these four guys.
Okay.
But you got to remember, in the old days, for most of Christian history, the people were not allowed to read and write. Not just, what they did to the Negroes was one thing. Okay. You follow? Because it was known. And what they did to the slaves here.
But they did it before.
This is what they did to Europeans. Yeah. The masses of the Europeans could not read or write up until the 1600s. The people, and when they did their church service, they did their church service in Latin. Because they were what? Catholics. They did their church service in Latin. The common peasant, he doesn't know Latin. So they're doing their church service, they're saying some stuff. The priest, they're saying some, you see these movies, horror movies, and how gloomy that whole church thing is. Gloomy, the Catholic church. And they're repeating their things in what? Latin. The common person sitting there, he doesn't know Latin, he doesn't know Hebrew, he doesn't know Aramaic. He doesn't know any idea what's going on. It was only after in the 1500s, which was around the time of what? Martin Luther, when they get the printing press. They translate these books into what? The local European languages, and then the people are able to what? Read. They start to read. And then other scholars start to study, meaning their scholars start to study it, and they start seeing it's not what? Doesn't add up. And now that's why so many of the Europeans became what? Atheists. Because they know for all those centuries, their whole civilization based on a what? Lie. They killed each other by the millions for centuries.
Before they started pressing writing, they already in a state of ignorance.
They were brainwashing you.
They already in a state of ignorance.
Okay, so let's mention a couple of more things, brothers, because we're talking about the time of the season. So let's talk about what they call Christmas. We're jumping ahead now, but you got this. You see, this whole thing is busted. Brothers? Busted?
Busted wide open.
Busted wide open.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah lil Islam. Sallallahu ala Muhammad. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You see what a mercy, because he came. Look, this is what humanity was on. Meaning large group of people. And then the Prophet came and he brought back the call to Tawheed.
No guidance.
No guidance.
Brought the Muslim out of the darkness to light.
Allah.
Because they was forcing the true followers of Jesus into misguidance. They was forcing
they were trying to do that, way back. And then over the centuries, they were just totally lost. Totally lost. Okay, Tayyib. Let's mention now so-called Christmas. And this is from their sources, brothers. You follow me? And what is our rule? You are not allowed to lie on the people of misguidance. We're bringing it from their sources. Their own people, they don't deny this. Yeah. Alhamdulillah lil Islam, brothers. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, when you hear this, it makes your iman stronger, hey?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And you know, when you hear those people attacking Islam, you know they're bankrupt, like these Christians. I mean, of course, the atheists, we dealt with them before. We talked about the rational judgment. Yeah, but with these Christians, sometimes they want to attack us. You see that they're bankrupt. Just gonna give me 1 minute to get this in, and then inshallah I'll continue.
They continue to try to spread misguidance.
No, till today. Aren't they still spreading it?
Yes, brother.
Yeah, and they know it's falsehood. So this is about what they call Christmas. This is from Encyclopedia Britannica. So, well, let me mention here, this is something, a note from the book, from what the project. It says, there is no place in the Bible that determines the birth date of Jesus, alayhi salam. December 25th, however, is very close to the date that the pagans of the Roman Empire celebrated the winter solstice. Because the first day of winter is right before what they call Christmas, isn't it? First day of winter is what, the December 20th, December 21st, and what they call Christmas is what? The 25th. And it says here from the Encyclopedia Americana, the reason for establishing December 25th as Christmas is somewhat obscure, meaning it's not clear, but it is usually held that the day was chosen to correspond to pagan festivals that took place around the winter solstice, when the days began to lengthen to celebrate the rebirth of the sun, the S-U-N. Because after the first day of winter, what happens? The days start getting what? Longer. No. So the pagans were celebrating the rebirth of the sun up in the what?
Yeah.
Up in the sky.
Pagan.
9. Encyclopedia Britannica says, the traditional customs connected with Christmas have developed from several sources as a result of the quote-unquote coincidences of the celebration of the birth of Christ with the pagan, agricultural, and solar observances at midwinter, meaning what? Worship of the sun. It says, in the Roman world, Saturnalia, which was a celebration on December 17th, was a time of merrymaking and exchanging of gifts. On the Roman New Year, January 1st, houses were decorated with greenery and lights, and gifts were given to the children and the poor. You follow? To these observances were added the German and Celtic Yule rites, because when what they call Christianity spread into Northern Europe, the regions of what the Germans, the Celts would be like England, parts of France. I think parts of France were the Celts. So now it's about Northern Europe. Then you get other pagan rituals that get mixed with the other pagan rituals that the Romans follow. You follow? So, and among the things that they did, they had the Yule rites. You know, they do what they call a Yule log. You have mistletoe, right? You have these other rites which are coming from the people with the reindeer, Santa Claus and the reindeers. Are there any reindeer in the Middle East?
Nope.
This is from what? Northern Europe and the pagan practices of like the old the Viking culture. These are all pagan people. Originally they were what? Pagans. It says food and good fellowship, the Yule log and Yule cakes, greenery and fir trees, gifts and greetings all commemorated different aspects of this festive season. Fire and light, symbols of warmth and lasting life, have always been associated with the winter festival, both pagan and Christian. Encyclopedia Britannica says, the use of evergreen trees, wreaths, and garlands as a symbol of eternal life was an ancient custom of the Egyptians, the Chinese, and Hebrews. Tree worship, common among pagan Europeans, survived their conversion to Christianity. Now, brothers, did we say we're done? We didn't say we're done. So now we're going to go to the Bible. We're going to go to the Bible, brothers. Brother Tarek over there shaking his head.
It's a contradiction, brother.
Yeah, Lord. When we read this the other night, I was reading from a modern version of the Bible. So now let's take it back to King James. Because in the modern version, they made it more what you call politically correct. Because they called them what? Nations. This is what it says in the King James Version. It says here, this is Jeremiah chapter 10. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1 through, let's see, 1 through 5. So what do they say here? It says, "Hear ye the word which your Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel." Meaning what? The Israelites. "Thus saith the God, learn not the way of the heathen." The other way they say what? The nations. But because meaning the nations that were not what? The Israelite nations. The non-Israelite nations in general, they were what? Pagans. Yeah. But here they outright call them what? Heathens, pagans. It says, "Learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed," meaning like disappointed, "at the signs of heaven." Because the heathens, they would look to the what? Stars. They're trying to read the stars and claim that they can know the future by the what? By the stars, which is not valid. It says, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So just because you might see shooting stars or something like that, you don't try to predict the future. And then it says, "For the customs of the people," meaning the heathens, "are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with an axe. They deck it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and hammer, that it move not." What are they talking about? What did they start to do? They're doing what the Christian. What did the Christians do? They're doing what the Bible told them not to do. The Bible says, don't go to the woods, cut down the tree, bring it into your house, nail it down, fix it, and then what? Decorate it with what? Silver and gold. What do? They get what? Tinsel. And they decorate it in what? Silver, not physical, real, but silver and gold. And who does this? The pagans. And the Bible tells them what? Not to do it.
It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. Jeremiah 10:5. About what? Against the tree. So-called Christmas tree. Yeah. And it's in the Bible itself. Do not imitate. This is the custom of the what? The pagans. The heathens. The mushrikun. The ones who make partners with Allah Ta'ala. Do not imitate them. But they went ahead and what?
Did it anyway.
They did it anyway. Let's see. Okay, let's finish up this last part.
That's the sleep technique.
Totally. I all got them all up in their feelings. What sense does any of this make? Meaning, talk about the Trinity, and then however you cut it, if you want to go from just the belief, the Aqidah, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, person says, I don't want to use my mind. Whatever. Okay, well, where did it come from?
Emotions don't work.
Okay, where did it come from? Well, you look. Okay, Mark, Matthew, Luke, John. Well, who are these cats? You don't know. So you believing in something that makes no sense coming from people you don't know who they are. No one knows who they are, meaning among the humans. Nobody knows who these people are. And it doesn't make sense. But you're saying that this is what you want to die. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Yahdi man yasha. Allah guides whomever He wills. We got a little bit more, brothers. You okay, Brother Tariq? Okay. Don't want your brain to explode back there, bro.
Alhamdulillah for His knowledge.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, let's jump. We're not going to deal with this part here. It's also important for us. Let's talk a little bit about Martin Luther and not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther. So what happens? 1517. So Europe, for centuries, meaning Western Europe. We're not talking about some places like Russia and some other places. We're not talking about that. But England, the Netherlands, France, Spain, other than Muslim Spain, the mass of Western Europe for centuries was controlled by what? By whom? Was controlled by the Catholic Church. So, in general, in Western Europe, there was only what? One church. Then what happens? 1517, Martin Luther revolts against the church. Church, meaning the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic Church. So when did this revolt happen?
1517.
So what does that mean? 1,500 years after the time of Jesus.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, you're talking about like a couple of generations. 1,500 years. That's more than from our time to the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they have been on the Catholic Church for centuries and centuries and centuries and centuries. Martin Luther says, well, we need to reform the church. There's some problems in it. And the church, the Catholics said, we ain't having it. So then he what? Starts his own stuff. And then from this, you get all of these different sects. That's why you have the Lutherans, and you have the Baptists, and you have the Presbyterians, and you have this and this and this. Then you come to America, and then you got like even like the Black Baptists and all. This is all from what? The people who broke off after Martin Luther. But the Catholic Church was the dominant. It was the church of Europe for centuries and centuries and centuries. Because they didn't allow anybody to what? I mean, you can see they don't want the people thinking. And what happened at this time was also what? The printing press comes out around this time. So that's when the people start to what? Read. They start to wake up to a certain level.
But it's misguided.
There's still misguidance. But they're starting to what? Wake up on a certain level. They're not guided. But you're talking about before this, they're what? Snoozing.
Is the Catholic Church combined with the Constantine?
Well, these people, the Catholic Church would have an isnad going back to Constantine. They are connected. Okay. They are connected. Okay. What the problem is that the Protestant, because this is called the Protestants. These are called meaning Protestants or protesters.
That makes sense, Brother Ali. I've never.
So the Protestants go, but they got their stuff from whom? The Catholics.
Man, bro.
But the problem for the Protestants is that they're saying the Catholics are what? Misguided. But who did they get their religion from? They got their religion from the Catholics. And their Bibles don't agree. The Catholic Bible has more books than the Protestant Bible. I don't remember how many now. It's like about 10 different books. The Catholic Bible has 10 more books than the Protestant Bible. I don't remember the number exactly. So
Ali, I never known this, but it makes sense.
No. You because things you heard like growing up, and now you
Protestants and Catholics, but I thought they were two of the same.
No. You can piece it. You can see. And then when you hear about the Europeans fighting each other for centuries over religion, it's fights. Because of the Catholics and the Protestants.
All of this makes sense.
That's why when you have just last month the Pilgrims, as they call them, when they came to America. They were a group of what? Protestants who revolted against the Church of England.
Oh, okay.
Because the Church of England broke off
from the Catholics.
They broke off from the Catholics. Yeah. And how did that happen? Is Henry VIII.
That's my man.
Henry VIII. He was the ruler of England, the King of England. His wife did not give him any male children. Because, the kings back then, they want to have a male child to carry on the lineage for the king. So his wife did not give him a male child. So he wanted a divorce. But in the Catholic Church, you can't divorce. I mean, maybe now they changed it, but historically, you could not divorce if you were Catholic. So then what did he do? He said, I want a divorce. The king, the Pope told him, no, you can't divorce. He said, I'm out. And he started his own what? He started his own church, Church of England. This is in, I'll give you the date. Yeah, this is in the...
It's clear, brother.
Oh yeah, it's clear. Alhamdulillah. No, it's things you heard, bits and pieces, but it probably, how they're going to present it in a technology way. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to present it in a clear way. And when you heard it before, you didn't have the truth to examine it.
Just bits and pieces.
You have bits and pieces, and you really, you don't have a standard to understand it. This is 1534. This is 1534. Yeah. So he bounces. He bounces out of the Catholic Church and starts his own thing. And then the Pilgrims, They what? They said, yo, we want to what? We bouncing, we start our own thing. The Puritans, they said, we out, we bounce.
So they broke away from Henry VIII.
Yeah, and then that's why they had to come to America so that they wouldn't be,
their own thing.
so because they didn't want to be persecuted by
By the king.
By the king. There you go. No, where's the hop? Where's the truth in this?
And that's why they were so vicious when they came to America.
Well, they were vicious. They were nasty people. Anyway,
Yeah, before, I'm saying.
Yeah,
but,
they were before. Yeah, they were
but you got a
barbarians.
new land.
They
you
were
know,
barbarians.
Yeah.
I mean, then when you look at what the Spanish did, because the Spanish now, they are Catholics. And that's now you talk about like why the Mexicans and all these Latinos are Catholic in general. Because of what? Because Spain remained a Catholic country. Italy remained a Catholic country. The France remained Catholic. Okay, but they did have fighting, like especially in France, but in England and some of these other places, fought each other for centuries, killing and killing and killing between the Catholics and the Protestants. To the point they said, yo, we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Because they had the Spaniards come over into America also.
They came, but the Spanish, now they came right after they were done fighting us. Because we had been ruling in Spain, the southern part of Spain, and when they came to America, that was the same time that we lost the southern part of Spain. So that's how that happened. One other point, brothers, as we close up. How much time? Oh, 1 minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's it. We'll stop here. Walhamdulillah. Wa sallallahu ala rasulillah.